सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मत्श्रीगुरुपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। हरिः ओम्। वासुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रं नत्वाग्रानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते। See, consciousness has two dimensions. One, that which is manifested. The second, which is unmanifested. All the manifested consciousness has emerged out of the unmanifested one. But for the manifestation to happen, there is another small aspect of the consciousness. This is the consciousness that has a desire to manifest. Because now we've got three aspects, three dimensions. An unmanifested, contented consciousness, a manifested consciousness, and a part of the unmanifested consciousness that develops the desire to manifest and through which the consciousness manifests as matter. So these have been given three different names. Brahman or Atma is the unmanifested consciousness. Purusha or the causal body is the part of the unmanifested consciousness that has a desire to manifest. And then the manifested consciousness, which is called as Prakriti or Maya. So these are three things we need to be aware of. The only difference between Brahman or Atma, which is the same, and Purusha is that in Atma it is stillness, it is contented, it is absolutely happy with the way things are. Whereas in Brahman or in Purusha, there is a desire to make something, to generate something. And from that, everything comes. So Purusha is also the causal body, can also be called as the Purusha. So knowing these three makes our further understanding easy. The most diverse or the biggest, if we can call, the aspect of the consciousness is the unmanifested consciousness. And the smallest is the manifested. And the strongest is the unmanifested, and the subtlest is the unmanifested. The weakest and the grossest is the manifested consciousness. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now the same thing has been represented in the Puranas as Vishnu sleeping in the ocean of milk. So Vishnu is relaxing in the ocean of milk and is meditating, or he's resting, and in that rest there is a dream which comes in him. In that dream there is creation. And when the dream ends, when does the dream end? When the Vishnu wakes up, when he opens his eye, the dream ends. That's when the creation stops. So all that we think as reality is just an aspect of the dream of Vishnu. Vishnu representing the unmanifested consciousness. And the dream is the consciousness that is manifested. The desire to dream or desire to create in Vishnu is the Purusha aspect. So even the conversation which we are having here, you and me, is a figment of Vishnu's dream. That unreal, this reality is. Are you with me? So last time we saw that the question that the disciple asked is, what is Atma? And for that, the master started by saying, I will tell you first what is Anatma. And then he said, that which is not the gross, subtle or the causal body. That which is beyond the three states of consciousness. And then that's which is beyond the five sheaths. So we looked at the gross, subtle and the causal body. We also looked at the avasthatraya, the wakeful state, the dream state and the deep sleep state. And now we will look at the panchakoshas, the five sheaths. What are the five sheaths? Panchakoshaha ke annamayaha, pranamayaha, manomayaha, vijnanamayaha, anandamayaha cha iti. So these are the five sheaths of our existence. Now this is nothing but the gross, subtle and the causal body arranged in a slightly different way. We will understand as we go through this. So annamayaha kaha, what is annamaya kosha? Anna rasanaiva bhutva, anna rasanaiva vruddhim prapya, anna rupa prathivyam yad viliyate, tad annamaya koshaha sthula shariram. Annamaya kosha is the gross body or the sthula sharira. And what are its characteristics? Anna rasaneva bhutva, it emerges out of the earth of food. And it grows because of food. And then it dissolves into the earth, which is the source of food. Anna rupa prathivyam yad viliyate. That is annamaya kosha. This gross body, we say dust to dust. That is come out of the mud, that goes back into the mud. It comes out of the manifested or materialized elements and dissolves into the material dissolves into the elements. That gross body is the annamaya kosha. Pranamaya kaha, pranadhyaha pancha vayavaha, vagendra yat panchakam pranamaya koshaha. Now, annamaya kosha is the gross body. The next three koshas, which is the pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha and vijnanamaya kosha, these three are the subtle body, whereas the causal body represents the anandamaya kosha or the bliss body. So it says, what is pranamaya kosha? Pranamaya kosha is also part of the subtle body. Pranadhyaha pancha vayavaha. So prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana. These are the five pranas, five pranavayus. These five pranavayus and five organs of action. What are they? Vak, Pani, Pada, Upasta, Vayu. Vayu. Speech, hands, feet, genitals, and anus. So the actions, that which acts, the action things, the pranavayu, they come from pranamaya kosha. So the realm of this is action, pranamaya kosha. Manomaya kosha kaha. Manascha gnanendriya panchakam militva yo bhavati so sa manomaya kosha. Mind plus the 5 organs of input, that is the manomaya kosha. The realm of the manomaya kosha is desire. So desire is the realm of the manomaya kosha. So what propels or instigates and carries out the desire is the sense organs. That's from where the desire arises, and the mind, which processes and brings out craving or aversion. So that is manomaya kosha. What? Mind and the 5 organs of input. Vijnanamaya kaha. Buddhi gnanendriya panchakam militva yo bhavati sa vijnanamaya kosha. Intellect plus the 5 organs of, first of 5 sense organs, input organs, that becomes what's called as the vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha is the intellect, that which decides. Anandamaya kaha. Evameva karana sharira bhuta avidya sthala malina sattvam priyadi vritti sahitam sat anandamaya kosha etat kosha panchakam. So we'll look at some of the slides. It makes it easier for you. So this is the pranamaya kosha. Already said the 5 pranas and the karmendriyas. And the mind plus organ of perception, it's the input organs, that is, which is desire based, is manomaya kosha. And then the same thing with the intellect becomes vijnanamaya kosha, which is the intellect, intellectual part. And then we have the causal body, which is the anandamaya kosha. So anandamaya kosha, what it is unconscious, as we already said. Karana sharira bhutva avidya malina sthalat. Avidya means it is very subtle and it is unconscious. Priyadi vritti means it has different levels of pleasure associated with it. You know, sometimes you eat and you feel nice. Sometimes you feel wow. So different types of pleasures generate different levels of joy in you. So priyadi vritti, so it has different gradations of joy in the causal body. Malina sattva, this is another, here the first time they talk about the gunas, the sattva, rajas and tamas. Malina sattva means an impure sattva, a sattva which is mixed with some rajas and tamas. Now this is the main difference between Atma and Purusha, or Brahman and Purusha. They are the same, but Atma or Brahman is full sattva, pure sattva. Whereas because there is some rajas which has come into the sattvic component, the desire comes in the Purusha. The main thing which drives the desire in the Purusha to generate or create something is the rajas and tamas. Because the rajas and tamas itself, creation will happen, as we will know in the next few minutes. So the causal body is very similar to the Atma. The only difference is that the Atma is pure sattva, causal body is a mixture, a little bit of rajas and tamas. The rajas is the one which drives. Now we need to know what are the main attributes of these 3 qualities, sattva, rajas and tamas. The main attribute of sattva is knowledge, jnana. The main attribute of Rajas is action, activity. And the main attribute of tamas is inertia or structure, structural heaviness. What do you call? A grossness comes from the tamas. Your bones are very gross because then they provide structural support, like the cement pillars in the building. They are gross, but they are tough. That grossness, solidity comes from the tamas element. And these three are all energies. So they are called as Gnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Dravya Shakti. You don't need this, but just know the main quality of Sattva is awareness or knowledge. The main quality of Rajas is activity. And the main quality of Tamas is inertia, stability. And this Malina Sattva becomes Purusha, which gives rise to Jiva or Ishvara, which we'll explore in the future. And the Shuddha Sattva, which is the pure Sattva, becomes what's called as the Atma. Now, these are the 5 different koshas. Annamaya kosha, which is the gross body. Anandamaya kosha, which is the causal body or the Karana Sharira. And then we have got the Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya kosha, which are the subtle bodies. Okay, so in here, because in the Tattva Bodha that does not come take the memory and ego as separate. Memory becomes part of mind and ego becomes part of intellect. So when it says Vijnanamaya, it is intellect and ego with organs of perception. When it says Manomaya, it is mind and memory with organs of perception, or the 5 sense organs, which we commonly call, because that's where the desire arises from. Are you getting what I'm saying? So this is the 5 koshas. And what does it say? Pancha kosha tita. So it already said you are beyond the 3 bodies. You are beyond the different to the 3 states of awareness. Now it says you are beyond the 5 sheaths. So here he gives a very good example. Madiyam shariram, madiyah pranah, madiyam manascha, madiyya buddhir, madiyam agnanamiti svenaiva gnayate. Tadyata madiyatvena gnatam kataka kundala gruhadikam swasmin adi bhinnam tata pancha koshadikam swasmadi bhinnam madiyatvena gnatamatma na bhavati. It says, you have a bangle, you got a house, you got a earring. They are all yours, but you are not that. So just like it is your house, but you are not the house. It's your phone, you are not the phone. It's your money, you are not the money. In the same way, he says, this is my body, my pranas, my mind, my intellect. But I am not this. All these belong to me. I use them, but I am not this. Madiyatvena gnatam atma na bhavati. Just because I use it, this is not me. I am beyond all these. This is what it means by pancha kosha titam. Means what? I am beyond these 5. From the Purusha, the 5 elements come. From the 5 elements, all these 24 components with which you are made, which are the 5 sense organs, the 5 karmendriyas, the 5 pranas, the 4 antahkaranas, all these come. All these together components make up what is called as me. But I am not that. I am something who witnesses all this functioning through me. Are you with me? This is my body, but I am not the body. Oh, what is happening now? Some judgment is coming in my intellect, but I am not the intellect. Who am I? That will come. I am beyond all this. I am much above this. So, Atma tarhi kaha. Now the student asks, then what is Atma? Till now you said what is not Atma. Now tell me what is Atma. Then the master says, Satchidananda Swarupaha. So now he says, now you know what is not Atma, now I'll tell you what is Atma. So only three things you need to know what is Atma. Satchit Ananda. Satchit Ananda Swarupa Atma. And now the disciple asks, Sat Kim? What is Sat? What is Chit? What is Ananda? Kalatraye api tishtati tat Sat. What is truth? Truth is that which does not change. Now, in your existence, what is it that changes? What is it that does not change? See, when we defined Viveka, we came to the same thing. What is temporary? What is permanent? What keeps changing? What does not change? That which does not change in all the three states of existence is Sat. That which remains the same, whether you are awake or asleep or in deep sleep, that is Sat. What is it? What is it that stays in all the three states? The witness of all the three states, the I amness. I am. Anything you add after the I am becomes an attribute. It pertains to the gross, subtle, or the causal body. But just I am, that witness which is seeing everything, that is Sat. And it does not change. See, even in deep sleep, it is there, and that's why when you wake up, you say, oh, I had such a nice sleep. In your dream also, it is observing you. And your waking state, anyway, it is very obviously there. So that is Sat. What? That which does not change in all the three states of existence, that is Sat. And that which does not change at all, that stays the same. The meanness in you. You know, we told this example again before, that when you go and meet somebody after a few years and then say, oh, your child has grown up so long, he's become so tall now. But then you don't realize you're grown that much old. That which never grows old, that which remains young, even life after life, that is Sat. Chit Kim? Jnana Swarupaha. That which is the seat of knowledge and awareness, that is Chit. Now, you're sitting in this room, just look in this room, what is it that has never changed, that will never change? Is this space around you. We call it empty space for the sake of expression, but this is not empty space. This space is pregnant with knowledge. Everything that is to be known is here right now. Only you have to develop that ability to download, to perceive this knowledge. So this space, which is eternal, which is soaked with knowledge and awareness, that is Chit. Some of you have asked questions. Now you are getting the difference. Sat is the witness. Chit is the awareness. Both are components of the Atma. Okay. So Sat stays all the time. Chit stays, but the awareness aspect of it can remain concealed by ignorance. And then Ananda Kaha, Ananda Sukha Swarupaha. That which gives you comfort and joy, that is Ananda. That aspect of you which when touched, you feel that bliss. Even when you go through sensory pleasures, you touch that aspect. The sensation, it triggers that aspect of the Ananda, and then it drains off as you overdo the pleasure. At some point, at the peak of every sensory pleasure, you withdraw. Have you noticed? When you eat something nice, what do you say? Ah, so nice. You close your eyes. You go inwards. When you listen to some nice music, what happens? You automatically close your eyes. Ah, something nice. Isn't it? At the peak of every sensory experience, that joy, you touch that source. And that is you. What? Sukha Swarupaha. Evam Satchidananda Swarupam Swatmanam vijaniyata. And know that only this is your true nature. Everything else is just a projection. Everything else is something which you use. Like this dress you wear, but this dress is not you. You wear it, that's all. But after a while, you start thinking that this dress gives me identity. Knowing that you are beyond the dress, knowing that you are beyond the names, knowing that you are beyond the nameplate that you hold on. You know, when you go to work, what do? You wear a name tag, isn't it? A badge, an ID badge. That ID badge only shows, is an indication to you, but it is not you, isn't it? The moment you come out of work, what do? You take out the badge. You don't wear the badge even when you sleep, when you go to bath, is it? You don't do that. So that is what you wear, what you use, but that is not you. Unfortunately, you think the ID represents me. So what is really you is Satchidananda, that which is eternal, that which is truth, that which is eternal beyond the three states, that which is the source of knowledge and awareness, and that which is blissful. And what is this Ananda? It is unending joy that is independent of external objects. The joy that is dependent on external object is short-lived and it is tiring. But the joy that is independent of external objects, the joy that comes from your own source, is uplifting and unending. So this is what you are. What? Satchidananda. How do I experience this? Yes, you experience this anyway during meditation, in deep sleep as well. So meditation and deep sleep are very close to each other. Just in that, in deep sleep, the awareness is somewhere else, but the other two are there. And that is why when you touch the source in deep sleep and you're well rested, knowledge comes out of you easily. You are more aware and alert when you are well rested. That's why when you meditate regularly, your alertness comes up, your awareness comes up. So now the question, who am I, has been answered. Yeah, what is Anatma, what is Atma, both have been answered now. So now we have completed chapter 3, which is who am I? Then the next question is, what is this universe? How did this creation come into existence? So, Atha Chaturvimshati Tattvo Utpatti Prakaram Vakshamaha. Now, we now understood who am I. But the master is saying, not just you, everything around you is also made of the same 24 components. How these components came into existence, I will tell you now. Brahmashraya Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. He's told that there is Brahman, there is Purusha, and there is Prakriti. Prakriti is the creation or nature, what we see around us. It is also called as Maya. So Brahmashraya, it is evolved out of Brahman itself. But it is bound by the three gunas. That which has arisen from the Atma or the Brahman or the unmanifested consciousness, but has or displays the qualities of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, that is called universe or Maya or Prakriti. All three are the same. Now he says how it actually happened. Tata akasha sambhutaha akashat vayuhu vayas tejaha tejas apaha abhyadyaha prithvi. First, there was space. From space came air. From air, the fire element came. From fire, the water element. And finally, from the water element, we got the earth element. So it said each element's dimensions is twice the dimensions of the one inferior to it. Space is twice as bigger as air. Air is twice as bigger as fire. Fire is twice as big as water, and water is twice as large as earth. So from the biggest, the next were created. Now, each of these elements, now you see, the elements came from the Purusha. When the Purusha had a desire to manifest, it had an idea how the creation should be, and to create that, it wanted a few things, and that is how it's created. Now, there are three aspects of Purusha. One is called Mahat, other is called Aham, and the third one is the elements. Mahat is the architect. Means the Purusha is like the king which says, I want a palace to be built. And the Mahat is the main architect which says, okay, I will draw you some plans. How do you want this? And then the king chooses, okay, I want this plan. So I say, I want a human being. The Mahat aspect will give you the qualities. Okay, this plan, how do you want? How do you want? And say, okay, I choose this structure for a human being. And from Mahat, there comes what's called as Aham. Aham is not Ahankara. Aham is the acting self. Mahat is the planning self. Aham is the acting self. So Aham is like the builder. It says, okay, now the architect, you've given me the plan. I'm going to build the palace. I'm going to build the human being or the robot. But to build, I need materials. That materials are the elements, the 5 elements. So you see, all the 24 components of creation have come from the 5 elements only. So the 5 elements are the cement and the iron and everything. And using that, with the plan of the Mahat, the Aham creates the universe under the instruction of the Purusha. Are you getting this? Okay. Now, each of these elements has got a sattvic aspect, a rajasic aspect, and a tamasic aspect. Now, what comes out of the sattvic aspect? What is created from the sattvic aspect of the elements? Akashasya sattvic amshat shrotrendriya sambhutam, vayo tvachendriya sambhutam, agnesh chakshurindriya sambhutam, jalasya rasanendriya sambhutam, prithvyam granendriya sambhutam. From the sattvic component of the 5 elements, the 5 input organs are created. From the space, hearing, sound is created. From the fire, the sight is created. From the air, touch is created, or the skin. From the water, taste is created. And from the earth, smell is created. The 5 sense organs, they are created from the sattvic aspect, the pure aspect of the 5 elements. Yetesham panchatattvanam samashti sattvikamshat mano buddhya hankara chittantaha karanani sambhutani. Now he clearly said each element from its sattvic part, it creates one sense organ. Now he says, when all the elements come together, when the sattvic aspects of all the elements come together, what is created is the 4 inner faculties. Mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Mind, memory, ego, and intellect are created again by the sattvic aspect of the 5 elements. All of them combined together. All the 5 elements, when they come together, they become a mix together, and then they create the antakarana. Then he defines each one of them. Manah kaha. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha. Mind which creates, which destroys, which does this also, which does that also, or which cannot sustain this, which cannot sustain that. The indecisiveness of the sattvic factor is mind. That which goes here also, that which goes there also. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha is the definition of mind. Nishchayatmakaha buddhi. That which is decisive is intellect. See, very beautiful how he says. That which cannot decide is mind. That which decides is intellect. Ahankarta, ahankara. That which gives you a sense of identity is aham. Manaso chintanakartru chittam. That which is the source of thought is memory. See, such precise definitions. Mind is always neither here nor there. Mind wants this also, wants that also. That which cannot decide is mind. That which decides is intellect. That which gives you a sense of identity is aham. And that which is the source of thought. You know, all your thoughts right now have somewhere their root in the past. Just observe it. Even though it is a thought about the future, it is derived from the past experience projecting into the future. Yes or no? Think about it. So, the food for your thought is your memory. Memory is what? Is a storehouse of your past experiences, past information. So, these are the four antahkaranas, and these are very special faculties, and that is why they are derived from the sattvic aspect of the 5 elements. And then he says, what comes out of the rajasic element, rajasic component? Akashasya rajasamshat vak indriya sambhutam, vayoh panindriya sambhutam, vakneh padendriya sambhutam, jalasya upastendriya sambhutam, prithvyam gudendriya sambhutam. Etesham samashti rajasamshat pancha pranaha sambhutaha. So now again, from the rajasic component of each element, one particular karmendriya is formed. Now we clearly defined earlier that rajas means activity, action. To act, what do you need? You need energy, you need instruments. So all the 5 pranas and the 5 karmendriyas come from the rajasic aspect, which is activity. And he defines it. From the space, you get speech. From the air, you get hands. Air element is responsible for skills. Isn't it? All the skills, where do you get from? Your hands, isn't it? See, God is usually represented as somebody with 4 arms, isn't it? Have you noticed? 4 hands or 4 arms. Chatur Bahu, you say. And you know, Chatura also means skilled one. The Chatur means skill. Means you have 2 hands, you are skilled. You got 4 hands, you are more skilled. So that is Chatur. Skill comes from Pani, hands. That comes from the air element. Vaknehe padendriya. From fire comes the movement, feet. When you move, what happens? You generate heat in your body. Isn't it? You do your warm-up means what? What is warm-up actually means move. So when you move, fire generates. It's so logical. Jalasya upastendriya. The genitals are linked to the water element. The craving is related to the water element. All the pleasures, cravings come from the water element. So the genitals, which are the source of pleasure, comes from the water element. Prithivyam gudendra, the anus comes from the earth element. The smell aspect of the body comes from the earth element. And when all these 5 elements, the rajasic components come together, from the combination, you get the 5 pranas. The pancha pranas happen. Just like the 4 antahkaranas happen from the sattvic aspect of the elements, from the rajasic aspect of the elements, you get the pancha pranas. So now the 5 organs of input are over. The 4 antahkaranas are over, the 5 karmendriyas are over, and the 5 pranas are over. What is remaining is only the gross body. The causal body is over, the subtle body is over now. Now he says, evolution of tamasic aspect. Now we said tamas is what gives stability, structural integrity. So he says, etesham panchatattvanam tamasamshat panchikruta panchatatvani bhavanti. Now this is slightly complicated, not very complicated, just mathematics. Now he says everything so far was subtle, was unmaterialized. See, you can't touch the mind. You see, you can't touch the intellect. You can't define the intellect. They're all subtle. All the 19 components are subtle because that's why they form what's called the Sukshma Sharira or the subtle body. Now you are coming to the Sthula Sharira, the vessel which holds the subtle body. Now this vessel to be there, it needs to be strong and stable. So what happens? The elements, they have to go through a process called Panchikarana. Panchikarana means alloy making. You know, pure gold, you can't make any ornaments. What do? You mix something to it so that it becomes a bit stronger. Exactly the same concept. Yeah. So it says Panchikarana of the 5 elements. How does the Panchikarana happen? It gives the mathematical formula for that as well. Say for example, take the space element. Okay. You divide the space element into 2 halves, A and B. 50%, 50%. Okay. You with me now? Now keep the A aside and take the B, which is 50%. Divide that into 4 parts. How much will it be? 12.5, 12.5, 12.5, 12.5%. Are you still with me? Are you all here? It is very simple. It's not difficult mathematics. Just you need to be a bit alert. Okay. Now, space element is 100% space. Now, space alloy, it needs to have some impurity in it. So what it does, how does it become an alloy? It retains 50% of its original space and the remaining 12.5%, which 4 parts it has got, it donates it to the other 4 elements. It gives 12.5% to air, 12.5% to fire, 12.5% to water, 12.5% to earth, and exchanges it to 12.5% of that element. So the space element is 100% space, but the space alloy is 50% space plus 12.5% air, 12.5% water, 12.5% fire, plus 12.5% earth. Now it becomes a bit more stronger. In the similar way, the air alloy has 50% of air, but 12.5% of the other 4 elements. The fire element, fire alloy has 50% of fire and 12.5% of the other 4. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So this is how the elements become alloys. When they become alloys, that which was subtle now starts becoming concrete, starts becoming manifested. This entire manifested universe is because of the Panchikarana of the elements. But know that what you see with a name and a form, with a form and a shape, is only the container. What runs that is the Sukshma body, the subtle thing. Are you getting this? So when a human being dies, the gross body is still there. The Panchikarana has to reverse till it dissolves into the elements. But the subtle body is already left. That is why this body has no value. Are you getting what I'm saying? So this is how the subtle body has happened. The gross body comes into existence. Etebhyah panchikruta pancha mahabhutebhyah sthula shariram bhavati. This is how the gross body is created. Yeah? Are you getting this? So the gross body is created like this by the alloys of the 5 elements. Now let's look at the slide. So it will be a revision for you. So we told this. It is once again the universe as well as the individual are both made up of the same 24 components, and what is manifested is called as Maya or Prakriti. And it is bound by the Sattva, Rajas and Tama gunas. So we said all these 5 elements come in that order. Space is the biggest. Have you noticed this is true? Even in our own planet, water is more than the earth, isn't it? And then fire is more than that because the temperature is bigger than it covers the entire earth. See, if you go in a flight, have you noticed when your flight is at 30,000 feet flying, if you look at the temperature outside, it is in some minus degrees, isn't it? It is not positive. The temperature only extends up to a particular, say, 10,000, 6,000 feet. After that, the temperature drops. But air is still there, so air is bigger than the fire, and space is everywhere. Yeah? Now we are told all this. How from the Sattva Guna, you get all the 5 organs of perception and the Antakarana. From the Tamo Guna, you get this. From the Rajo Guna, this should come. Okay? And then this is the 24 components which are all there together from the different elements. And this is what the alloys I was telling, how the alloys are formed. So this is it, the causal body now. Just to summarize, you see, the causal body is the Purusha. This is part of the Brahman or Atma, which has a desire to manifest. And that gives rise to Mahat. Mahat is the architect. Aham is the builder. The elements are the raw materials. From the raw materials of the elements, you separate them into Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic bit. And the Sattvic bit, you create the 5 input organs and Antakaranas. And the Rajasic, you create the 5 Karmendriyas and the Pranas. And the Tamasic, you create the gross body. Yeah? So the individual existence is what? Your body is gross plus subtle. But the gross is only that small Tamasic 5 alloys, you see. The bigger part of your existence is the Sattvic and Rajasic bit, which is much bigger and much more powerful. Yeah, so this is the process of creation. So there ends chapter 3, Jiva and Ishvara. Now, what is Jiva? What is Ishvara? Jiva is the individual self. Ishvara is the bigger universe or Prakriti. All that around you, see, oh, this nature, this tree, this forest, everything else around you, this sky, this oceans, all this is also made up of the same 24 components, but because it's on a bigger scale, you call that Ishvara. And you as an individual is called as Jiva. The next chapter is the most important chapter. And there you get the main Upanishad Vakya, Tattvamasi. Okay, that we will explore next time because this is the basis we wanted you to have. What is the most important aspect of this chapter is to show you that one, you are made up of 24 components. You use those components to function, but you are not those components. Don't identify yourself with those components. You are the one who runs these components. You are much bigger than this, much beyond this. What is that beyond? You've already defined Sat, Chit and Ananda. You are the eternal which stays throughout as a witness. You are the consciousness which is the source of knowledge and awareness. And then you are joy which is independent of external situations or objects. And you experience this when you are in deep sleep anyway. When you meditate, you experience. And when you are awake, when do you experience? When you look at a 6-month or 1-year-old baby, it is awake and it has got all these 3 things. and the same in an enlightened person. So these are the 4 places where you see the full manifestation of Atma. Yeah?
Jai Gurudev.